Hi guys, thank you so much for coming back to my channel. Welcome back. Today we're going to talk about character pathology. Now we're still talking about families, but I'm also going to throw in an element of personality psychology, or the psychology of personality, because I think this is a topic that's going to fit really well into the series of topics that we've been talking about and kind of sharing with each other here on the channel. So let's go ahead and jump in. There's a lot to talk about. Thank you so much for coming back to my channel. For all of you who are subscribed and participating, thank you so much. And for those who are new, I encourage you to hit that subscribe button so you can stick around with us and be a part of our community. And let me briefly introduce myself. My name is Tamara, and I'm an internationally and board certified trauma therapist, but I'm also licensed in mental health, and I specialize in treating within my practice children, teens, and families, as well as adults. Let's jump in. So character pathology is something that, a lot of people fail to study in their own personal lives. We've been raised to believe that we can understand personality as long as it is not complex, as long as it is making sense, and as long as, everything is like we expect it to be or assume it's going to be, right? We never really have to worry about misinterpreting anything growing up. It's that person is that person, and that's all you need to know. But as you develop into an adult, or as you develop even through adolescence, you begin to realize that, wait a minute, this is not as clear cut as I thought. This is a little bit more complex. And so I think it's only when you become an adolescent you start learning that character and behaviors and cognition and emotions are not as simple as we thought, and it's not as black and white as our parents have taught us, and that's the sad part about it. So I think when we become adults, the first thing we have on our mind is building a support network, right? Dating, getting married, having friends and coworkers that like us. And unfortunately, it doesn't always go that way. And when it doesn't, we find ourselves in the middle of the situation in chaos, and sometimes even broken, trying to figure out, why wasn't I able to spot these issues within this person? And so in today's video, I'm going to highlight what these particular bullies look like in a relationship or in a family. And really, again, this video is about personality pathology, right? What is wrong with this particular personality, and why haven't I seen it? So I'm going to point out at least 6 things that you're likely to see in a personality disordered person. All right, so the first thing that you're likely to see are 2 things, okay? And I categorize these things together. The first thing is control and possession. Now, you have gotten into the hands of a person who is a controlling, possessive individual, where nothing and no one will stand in their way when you have come in contact with someone who just doesn't know how to give in. Control and possession. Now, a personality disordered individual, or a person with a character pathology, whatever way you want to use that term, it's used interchangeably. With these kind of individuals, it's not easy to say, I can't make that time, can we possibly schedule for a little bit later? Because you're going to get a whole big pep talk and argument and push and pull kind of responses, and you're going to get a lot of drama from this person. They don't know how, because they have a character pathology, meaning that they are rigid, they are unable to be flexible, they're unable to consider your feelings, your thoughts, your emotions, your life. They exist, and everybody around them exists in their world, right? It's not a world of people and we have to work together. It's everybody exists in this particular person's world, okay? That's why they have a character pathology. Well, you can't just ask this person if we could schedule at a later time. Can we change it to this day? Can we change it to that time? Can we celebrate that holiday on this day? Because that's going to become a huge explosion. Why? Because they have a desire for control. They have a need for control. They can't just step back and be flexible and be commonsensical and be understanding. They don't have the capacity to do that. So control and possession. Okay. And I also should have probably mentioned this at the beginning of the video, so I will slip it in here that, there are 3 things you want to keep in mind when you're dealing with a person who has a character pathology. And that is the reality that they have a very different way that they perceive reality, that they interact with people, and that they interact within their world and exist in others' worlds. Okay. So there's an imbalance with them of cognitions, emotions, and behaviors. Cognitions, emotions, and behaviors. There's an imbalance. And so this is why they can't do the things that makes a relationship normal and makes it a fluid, equal relationship. They don't have that capacity. Just as you were born to be flexible, understanding, and you know how to give people the benefit of the doubt, and you know how to give and take, just as you were born that way, the individual with a character pathology was born the total opposite. They are born to go, exactly against the grains of society. That is how they operate. That is how they function. That is healthy for them versus the way that you function. Okay, so that's important for me to highlight. Now, the next thing that you're likely to see is poor adaptation and inflexibility. And I just talked about this just a little bit ago. This is the individual who can't be flexible. They don't know how to adapt their mind, their emotions, their desires, their wishes, their expectations. They don't know how to adapt it. So what do? They force everybody around them to adapt. And unfortunately, for those bullies that you may have come in contact with in a relationship or in a family relationship that you have, even a coworker relationship or a boss and employee relationship, these particular bullies may use things to force you to adapt to them. Because again, you exist in their world. This is not an equal world. You exist in their world. So they're going to force you to adapt. And sometimes that adaptation includes the law, threats, manipulation, narcissistic intimidation. Whatever they need to do, they're going to do it. And if you search a little bit on this channel, guys, you're most likely going to find those videos where I talk about these particular individuals. I talk about them all the time because I've noticed in my 13 years of experience in treating children, teens, families, as well as adults who have a trauma history, that, these particular characters really do not only stir up anxiety and depression, but they also stir up trauma because of the way that they exist in the world and the way that they interact with people who are close to them. It's all about them. It's never about anybody else, right? You exist in their world. That's what you want to keep in mind. So they have poor adaptation skills and they're inflexible. The next thing that you're likely to see is low agreeableness. Low agreeableness. They don't know how to come to an agreement with you. They doubt things. They're paranoid. They accuse. They threaten and they manipulate. That's all they know how to do. Now, just think about this. If you were someone that had very little skills, emotional and psychological skills, what's the number one thing you're going to try to do? Right? You're going to try to manipulate to get your way. You're going to think your way out of certain situations. You're going to try to find a way to play on other people's emotions because you don't have any other skills. You don't know how to negotiate. You don't know how to adapt. You don't know how to be agreeable. You don't know how to let up on the control, let other people lead sometimes because you don't know how to do that, right? These individuals, because they don't know how to do that, what do? They fight the dirty way, for lack of a clinical term. And the best way to fight dirty is to control, manipulate, deceive, possess, right? Anything you can do that really takes away your humanity. You're not human anymore. Now you're fighting like somebody that has a lack of empathy, and somebody who has a lack of conscientiousness or consciousness, and that's sad. That can be really dangerous and really frightening for some people. Okay, the next thing, guys, that you're likely to see is something known as disinhibition. Basically, what that means is you're tactless, right? You're offensive and you lack social intelligence. You don't know how to be, mindful of other people's emotions and their needs. You don't know how to, be agreeable when you need to and be flexible and give and take and be loving and compassionate, right? And when that happens, relationships break apart. Child and parent relationships, romantic relationships, family relationships, whatever the case, they fall apart. So, this personality characteristic of a disinhibition can really break a relationship, a marriage, a parent-child relationship. The individual doesn't know how to be any other way than the way they are behaving in the moment. Okay. And again, I want you to think of disinhibition. It's a personality pathology. It's a trait that is pathological. It means that this person lacks tact, class, strategy to engage in social relationships appropriately. There's an inability to be socially intelligent. That's what I'm trying to say. So there's an inability to be socially intelligent. You're completely void of it, The next thing is something that I mentioned in another video, and I think I may have mentioned this in one of the videos that I did recently on stalking, is psychoticism. Now, psychoticism is not the same thing as psychosis. Psychosis is, really kind of breaking away from reality and experiencing a break in consciousness and in reality. You're kind of hallucinating. You're hearing and seeing things that are not there, having experiences that are not real. And you may be delusional, right? Where you have this rigid way of thinking about things, like the FBI is chasing you and it's not true. There's no foundation, there's no basis to it. That is psychosis. But psychoticism, and here's a definition of psychoticism right here. Psychoticism is a character pathology or a pathological personality trait where, the individual really has a hard time controlling impulses and fitting into society. Okay. They are very impulsive. It's a personality variable that really makes the person like a sociopath. They're impulsive, they're aggressive, they're irritable, they're agitated easily. They have a really rough exterior, a really inflexible personality that can become harmful to other people. So psychoticism is something that underlies a lot of sociopaths and a lot of narcissists and individuals who have character flaws and character pathologies. Now, one of the things that I want you to take away from this video is that, again, these kind of individuals have an issue with cognition, an issue with emotion, and an issue with behavior. So they can't adjust themselves cognitively to understand what they need to understand to be reasonable. They also can't adjust themselves emotionally so that they can respond appropriately and do the right thing. They also can't adjust their behavior. So a lot of times you're going to see these people act out. You're going to see these people threaten and manipulate. You're going to see them cheat and deceive and steal. This is who they are. It's a character pathology. So in the next couple of video guys, I will go ahead and give you a little bit more background on this, and I will also bring up suicidality. That's a very, very important personality variable for these kind of individuals, and I will probably talk about the topic when we go live, so stick around. Thank you so much for being with me today, guys. I encourage you to give this video a thumbs up and go ahead and hit that subscribe button so we can continue to talk about these issues and educate each other. I welcome you. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.